Lovely. Well,
Yeah. I think Simon's chicken order is the winner.
That is good.
Hello everybody, Yohaan just eating. Welcome to Livelunch here. The first one of March, it's the 3rd of March. We're going through the series on Paradox, and today we're going to carry on continuing the talk that Joel talked about on Sunday. But before we do, how's everyone doing?
We got Megan back with us.
Yay!
Yeah.
California.
Megan, how and where have you been, and how are you? And tell us whilst I continue eating this delicious food from Burrito. At least it's called Burrito.
Right.
If you
No,
wondered.
it's not. It's called tortilla.
You are right.
Yeah.
It's called Tortilla.
Megan, talk to us.
Just promoted someone else.
I've been in California, in Isla Vista. It's a really small, slum beach paradise town. That's literally what they call it. And just basically this college town on the coast. And it's been a missions trip, and God has just been incredible, revealing so much of Him, revealing so much of my heart, redeeming so much, and I feel like I've come back refreshed in Him, and
You sound it.
it was just a month full on the joy of the Lord. It was so good.
So good.
It was so good.
And you have a tan as well.
And I have a tan.
In March.
I went
which-
surfing.
Oh, well done.
It was good.
Nobody else says that to me.
It's a permanent tan.
They don't.
Yeah.
It was good.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
good.
Good to
You've
be
been
back.
missed. And yeah, it's great to have you back. And you led worship as well on Sunday. You literally flew in on the Friday, got leading worship on Sunday.
I arrived on Saturday lunchtime.
Wow.
So.
Straight to the stage.
Great to have you back.
Great to have you back. Welcome to the show, Tim Jones.
Hello.
Tim Jones heads up our preaching and research department here at Emmanuel. Dr. Tim Jones, as he is soon going to be known as.
God willing.
God willing.
Yes.
Everything is God willing. God willing,
Amen.
we'll have
Especially
episode
that.
5 of Live Lunch. But
Do you think that that's a bigger ask? It depends how today
Based
goes.
on how the show goes,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
Okay, everything is God willing.
Yeah.
Literally
Well,
everything.
yeah, I'm not contesting that.
Why do we then say it?
Just because I really feel in need of help.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
One of those situations.
Yeah, it's a big job. Yeah. It's fun, but it's a big job.
In Emmanuel, we do this thing called Strength Finders, the Gallup Strength Finders course, and Tim and I were sitting in a staff huddle earlier today.
So you
looking
probably
at,
need to explain a staff huddle. Because if you say me and Tim were sitting in a staff huddle, I think it needs disambiguation.
all of the staff
Yeah.
get together once on a Tuesday morning, and we spend some time
big huddle.
huddling.
Yeah, that's right.
And part of that is we go through our strengths, and Tim and I were sitting side by side looking at each other's strengths, and Tim's top 5 are my bottom 5.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Literally the opposite round.
Just
Wow.
more proof if it was needed that opposites attract.
Well, that is a physics thing, not a chemistry or biology thing.
Oh, okay. Stand corrected.
It's just, yeah,
You're the boss.
don't say that.
Yeah. Yin and yang.
Does anybody want to do a 30-second? And everybody knows Simon Brading, the man who needs no introduction, so will not get one. Simon Brading.
Not true.
The man who did the introduction, actually.
Yes,
the man who
thank you.
needs no introduction and did the introduction. Let's crack on.
Yes.
Anybody wants to do a 30-second summary of Joel's preach on the Sabbath?
I thought you were asking him to do it.
Oh, right, fine. I'll do it.
What's this?
So, Pharisees are ready, looking at Jesus' disciples for when they're going to break the rules of the Sabbath. But the actual Sabbath is like rest one day of the week. They had constructed loads of extra laws around the Sabbath, like a whole hedge of laws, and like 24 chapters worth of laws to ensure they definitely don't break the Sabbath. So laws like you shouldn't pick up anything that weighs more than like a fig. You shouldn't go more than 3,000 meters from your house. And that's just 2, like chapter upon chapter of extra laws. And so the Pharisees, totally missing the heart of what the Sabbath is, and more about nitpicking these things. What should have been a day of rest ended up being a day of like burden. And so they're there ready to point their finger at his disciples, and they do. Your disciple keepers, they don't keep the Sabbath. Jesus comes to their defense, like glory of glories, stands up for his tribe, like these are mine, leave them alone, and gets to the heart of the issue about them adding in stuff. And then, I think there's some applications around how we shouldn't be letting fear rob our rest.
Brilliant.
We didn't talk loads about Sabbath keeping today, and I think Jesus being the rest for our souls, the rest for against anxiety, worry, fear, and against the spirit of the Pharisee. I really enjoyed that bit when Joel talked about how Sabbath keeping today, and I think Jesus being the rest, the rest for against anxiety, worry, fear, and against the spirit of the Pharisee.
I really enjoyed that bit when Joel talked about how Sabbath keeping today, and I think Jesus being the rest, the rest for against anxiety, worry, fear, and against the spirit of the Pharisee. Jesus bears his teeth against the Pharisees who are accusing his disciples and just really protecting his own.
Yeah, it's
something
great.
Don't you dare accuse, and knowing that that's the position he holds with us, that the accuser has no say against us because Jesus defends us, and that's just quite special, isn't it? I think that the King of Kings is our spokesperson, is our protector, and who doesn't allow anybody to accuse us. It was brilliant in the sense that you feel like really safe and protected, and thank you Jesus for doing that. But on the other hand, you're like, man, I need to be careful about the stuff I say. I really don't want to be accusing people, because then I'm almost incurring Jesus's "don't you dare." I thought that was quite special. Kicking off with the $1 million question, the question everybody has on their mind when they hear this talk on Sabbath. What day is the Sabbath? Is it Saturday or Sunday?
What day is the Sabbath? Yeah. Well, the Sabbath is Saturday, but if the Jewish Shabbat starts on, like the Jewish day, it starts in the evening.
The Jewish what?
Shabbat.
Shabbat, mate. Shabbat.
I'm quite upset that I queued you up for that.
Go on, you carry on. Yeah.
Anyway, so the Shabbat starts on Friday evening, and it starts with a Shabbat meal. And I've always thought it's a beautiful way to start the day, actually. The Jewish day starts in the evening. The first thing you do is have a meal together and then go to sleep. It's like, that's how you should start the day, and that's how they do start the day. So the Sabbath starts with a meal, be wine and just all of your household around the table and just enjoying each other and enjoying some good food.
So would that be on Friday?
Friday evening, and then you go to bed, and then you get up and you enjoy the day, and it's a day of rest. It's a day to be recharged, a day to be restored. It's a gift. It's given to them when they come out of slavery. So they come out. Imagine never having a day off, working solidly all the time, being a slave. Now, and I think there's a real key, because the Lord gives them the Sabbath and says, really strict. You need to rest. You need to enjoy. You need to be recharged. And it's given as a gift to those who've been in slavery. If the Sabbath therefore ever becomes something of a slavery, you know that it's not in the spirit that is given.
Yeah,
so you've got a clue there straight away before the explicit teaching that Jesus gives.
And
the Sabbath is given for us.
Deeply ingrained slavery can get into us.
Yeah.
Even when you're taken out of it into a place of freedom, you still go back to like a habit of like, no, I must do. And so it's like, no, you are free. You can stop, and you should stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
That's cool. So if Sabbath is for man, why does God get so cross about it?
It's for ladies as well. But
And
yes,
for ladies.
yeah. Man in the
And
generic,
ladies.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So if sorry, repeat your question before I said something facetious.
If God is for human, then why does God get so cross about it?
Right, I think for that very reason, because he's provided. Now, you know what it's like if you see someone that you love being robbed of something. Or someone that you love being scammed. If you've got an older relative who gets phoned up by a call centre and rinsed over for there's something wrong with your window system, something like that.
Yeah.
You feel incensed on their behalf, and I think that's kind of the fury that goes along with it. You see, there's different instances of Sabbath breaking, like in Numbers 15, that a man gets killed on the command of the Lord for collecting sticks on the Sabbath, for going to make a fire when it's been explicitly prohibited. And again, it's the Lord not wanting the community to be robbed. It's actually, no, it's the Sabbath is for you. Treat it as holy. Treat it as sacred gift from God. And so you get these surprising things where the Lord is willing to defend it even at the expense of life. Because he's saying, no, this is bigger than just one person. This is the way that humans in total are designed to live and work. There's something true and right about it. So.
Do you think it's kind of like when you have young kids and they need to have an afternoon nap for their own well-being, and you're always going to insist you will have a nap. No, you're not coming out of your bedroom.
There's not much reasoning going on as well, but then you are the kid, you are that toddler, and you won't be reasoned with. No, I can work on. I'll work later hours. I can do it. I'm going to be more productive. Of course, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Because you're just wasting away. You're not acknowledging the divine wisdom that's created you.
Do you think... Okay, so actually I'm going to go back to a previous question before I go to this question. When we talked about whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday, what does a good Sabbath look like? Because I always assumed for a long time that that your Sunday was your Sabbath day, and it was a day that you.
How restful are your Sundays, Yohaan? I was like, I don't know about anyone else, but
Probably
sometimes they're
Pokemon
not that restful. I mean, I grant it that for some people they might be quite restful,
Yeah.
but actually, no, not really. I mean, and Sunday was the first day of the week, and officially is the first day of the week. Early in Christian history, we read Pliny the Younger writing about an account of the Christians. He's been charged to write an account of what the Christians do, because they're like a spy sort of thing. He's spying them out. And he says, I didn't find anything when I observed these people except a kind of degenerate cult who get up really early on the first day of the week before going to work. It's like they're kind of that slot. And they sing hymns to Jesus Christ as if he's a god.
So they had church before they went to work?
Yes, that's
Wow.
right. That's what Sunday was. And then obviously as it took off, it became, no, this is allowed now, and it's what should be done.
Yeah.
So we ended up with a bonus Sabbath. It's sort of, it stopped being a work day in that sense.
So I guess what my question was, if you'd allowed me to actually ask you my question.
Please do.
Was I assume Sunday was the Sabbath day because Sunday was your day of worship and was the day of you coming before God and worshipping with your brothers and sisters and everything. And then Saturday was like your own day to just chill and do your thing, whatever that might have looked like. But it doesn't seem to imply that. It seems to imply that the actual act of rest on the 6th day, on the Saturday,
Right.
on the 7th day, sorry, because on the Saturday is also a kind of form of worship in the way you rest.
Yeah. And to not rest is to not worship in that sense. Yeah.
So then help me understand, what does a good Sabbath day... So I want to do Sabbath well. I want to make sure that my life reflects Jesus and reflects worship unto who he is. How do I rest in a way that brings glory to God?
Can I just do one book recommendation, then hand over to the Sabbath Master?
I'm not the Sabbath Master.
Lord of the Sabbath.
He knows the Lord of the Sabbath. He's not the Lord of the Sabbath.
He's the king of fasting as well.
Don't give me that. That's ridiculous.
The king of fasting.
Yeah,
I wish I was.
I'm in
but
his
I'm-
presence.
He's the guy who
Not
puts on
today,
all the-
it's not.
What's the book
Anyway,
recommendation?
the
Messages on
book
fasting
recommendation for the sake of
prayer.
time.
Go on.
It's an honour.
What's the book?
The book recommendation is from John Mark Comer, and it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and it's absolutely why it's so valuable is it speaks to our times and the way that culture is fragmented, work life is different from how it was a couple of decades ago, and he just looks to apply these principles in this instance, and he could have learnt a lot from Simon Brady.
Just to say, I'm not the Sabbath Master. Like, this has just been something we've been thinking about intentionally the last 6 months or so.
You aren't the Lord.
To just bring some tension to the table. Joel said on Sunday, and it is true, Jesus fulfilled the law, which is the Sabbath, and the commandment to Sabbath does not exist in the New Testament. We aren't commanded to keep and observe the Sabbath. So as a principle, it's there in the same way that tithing is. Giving 10% is good, but there's no law that we should give 10%. So as a helpful phrase for me, it says, you're free to Sabbath. You are free in Christ to observe a Sabbath, have a weekly rhythm of rest, and as part of creation. You're also free not to. The principle is Jesus is our rest, and we shouldn't be robbed from our rest in terms of fear. But the principle is there. So 2 things for us. The Sabbath gets commanded in the Old Testament at the same time as the law. In the Exodus 21 bit of the law, it's like, you shall Sabbath. And the argument, it comes from creation. So 6 days the Lord created, then he rested. So therefore you shall rest. The Deuteronomy 5 bit where the law was given, the argument is actually taken from you were a slave and now you're not, so rest. So 2 different arguments. One is just rest from work as part of a creation order and look back at what you've done and enjoy it. The other one is almost like slightly kick against the spirit of Pharaoh that comes against all of us. Like, you must work, you must carry on, how dare you rest? You still got to-do lists. So it's good to be aware of both sides of that when you Sabbath. So for us, we've chosen Saturday because we're free to choose Saturday. If it worked for you to choose another day, you're free to choose that day. So in one sense, what the Jewish calendar was isn't that relevant anymore for us now. I know for some people, Sunday actually does make sense. That's a good day of a family rest. For me, it's the only day in the morning where the kids aren't rushing out early for the school run. or Sunday, I'm out early to lead worship in one of the sites or something. So for me personally, Sunday doesn't work so much. I'm just serving a lot in sites, which is brilliant, which I love doing. Saturday, that's the day we've chosen. This is where you can be nitpicky. You have to think, what is it, like principle-wise, that you're going for here? It's not just a day off. Let's have a day off. In terms of Genesis, God created for 6 days, and then he sat back, looked at his creation, and enjoyed what he'd done. There's an enjoyment of creation, which is a major part of the Sabbath for us as a family. So there's always a component to the day where we just get out and enjoy the creation, like go out to the dike, go out to a park, just go out to the seafront, just enjoy creation and enjoy the love of God through creation. Creation's a gift for us to enjoy. We have our best food on a Saturday. Like always, we eat like okay in the week, but you got some microwave meals or whatever. But Saturday, I always take time on a Saturday
evening.
You're quite
intentional about that.
Hugely.
Wow.
I love cooking, so that's a major part of my Sabbath. Just enjoying the love of God, enjoying creation, and just enjoying peace, sucking it to Pharaoh. Like, no, I'm not rushing around. Like, phone's in another room. Put a nice album on and just make some lovely food for the family. But yeah, that's a really important part of it. Stuff to me that robs me of rest is like clutter. So this is a personal thing. If the house is messy, my soul isn't very rested. So we spend Friday afternoon from 5 to 7 p.m, like if I'm back, just tidying anything else that's new tidied, hoover, all the surfaces clear. So we wake up on a Saturday morning just to a tidy house, like watch a movie with the kids. We make it special for the kids. Saturday is the only day we give them like a double breakfast. Every child asks for more after breakfast, and we tend to give them a good, decent portion the first time around. But Saturday, they basically have whatever they want and have another thing. Oh, can we have some more? Yeah, what do you want? Like, we'll do pancakes, do something else. So I'm really intentional. Like, emails off on a Saturday, do it on a Friday night, go to my emails, switch those off. I think I do have my phone on because I might want to hang with a friend or go out with another family or something. But the component of enjoying the love of God, and that he really loves you even when you're doing nothing. And one of the ways he shows you he loves you is even just through the gift of family, the gift of creation, like actually to enjoy it, not in an idolatrous way, but in a restful way. So don't do any emails, don't reply to any like work texts on a Saturday.
It's all starting to make sense.
Yeah. You're like, he's Sabbathing every day, Simon. No, I do reply sometimes.
And what about any spiritual disciplines? Do you spend longer time in prayer or reading a Bible?
I try as much as I can to build my life around prayer, and in terms of just morning routine. Saturday is the one day a week where I won't get up early and have a long prayer time. Instead, I see that whole day as a day of just, it's a spiritual day. I mean, every day is spiritual. So in terms of like sitting and reading the Bible and prayer, that's actually the one day that I don't do it. But I don't mind that. It's not like, it's just more just enjoying rest. And not that I see it like a chore, but I probably just enjoy a lion. That's just a nice treat, isn't it? Like,
it's a different rhythm, isn't it?
Yeah, get up late, like enjoy it, have a nice coffee, watch a Pixar movie with the kids.
What does rest look like for you, Megan?
Well, I think God's definitely challenged it over this last month, actually.
So he's done his surfing, sitting on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been challenged. I think Joel and I always have a Sabbath. Like, we aim to do Monday every week, and it's really nice that we wake up, have a lion again. We'll make pancakes. Seems to be a thing going here. You don't have to have pancakes if you're doing a Sabbath. But and we just enjoy like phones off. It's I think New Day said it really well last year. It's a switch off to switch on kind of day. Like, you switch off to switch on to God. And I think that's really key. All emails off, all like notifications off. Phone can even be off. Like, I'm with Joel, he doesn't need to call me. And just, we do tend to have like a longer time with God as well, which is really cool. But whilst I was in California, that got really tested about, like, I think I was seeing disciplines still like a law. And God just completely redeemed that and made it more of like an exciting gift to come into. And we also have a date night on Sabbath, which is really fun.
It's worth pointing out that in both of these examples, speaking to the use of phones. And John Mark Comer, as I say, because it's speaking to now, he talks a bit about parenting your phone, and he's got
brilliant.
Slightly older children, but he says, he points at various studies of Silicon Valley chiefs who won't let their kids have phones because they know what's going on behind the curtain, so to speak. There's a lot of reasons why you need to think this through for your household if you have a family, etc. But the parenting your phone, he talks about putting it to bed. So that, there's a certain time in his household where he and his wife, they'll just be like, phones off, they go in the cupboard, you say goodnight to them. That's it. And you're present with the people who you live close to. So I think that's starting to filter in. There's a bit of a sea change in the way people in culture at large are relating to social media, relating to mobile phones. You can't be enslaved again.
Joel Werber did a talk on rest. Was that a Sunday talk or was that a training talk? Because do you remember what the talk was? If you do, we can drop the link in the description.
Have a look.
He did this superb talk on how to rest well as part of a preaching series maybe a few years ago, and maybe if you're watching the video and you're trying to figure out some of the principles, you've heard some amazing stuff already, and how can I unpack some of these principles and apply them to my life? It'd be good if we could find that preach and add that to the link, because that was super. Where he just, I don't know if he was really impacted by it. I can't remember the detail of what was said, but just some really helpful ways in which you can set rhythms of rest, but also just pointing to the spiritual significance of resting and how it's not to be seen as something detached from your walk with God or your spiritual life. It's very much in keeping with who you are as a Christian and who you should be as a Christian.
It seems to be absolutely at the centre of how God's made us to be and made us to worship.
Yeah, it's like a sacrament. Another thing I've got to say is a couple of years ago we decided, Anna and I, that we wouldn't do things on a Saturday night, like social things. So we've got 6 other nights of the week where we can see people, but Saturday night was a night we would always keep in, and that really helps just the daytime. Just know you gonna have great food, great wine, and whatever you want to do. It's just like a perfect day. It feels like every week we have a Christmas day. Do you know what I mean? Like just something to really look forward to. And if you've got unrest in your soul, it always gets hit on the head like on a Saturday. It's good. Anyway.
Have you found, so my wife Amy and I are really different. So her way of resting is very different from my way of resting. So for me, resting is not doing anything, not planning anything, just bumming around all day, absolutely lazy, nothing.
You surprise me.
But for Amy, resting is let's do stuff together. Let's go out, and let's plan stuff and make it an exciting. That is exhausting for me. And I think just working that out, being on that journey with her, talking through it, and really finding rhythms even within our day of rest, where there's times when I just don't need to make a plan now, and then there are times when no, we need to go out and plan stuff and do stuff, and that really honors my wife. And so just when you're partnering with somebody, working out that rest rhythms with them is massive, because you could just never assume it. You could never have that conversation. Just you could end up being quite lazy about stuff, and the other person has to just deal with it. Yeah. So that would be my practical tip.
We're not islands unto ourselves with it, are we?
No.
Good.
I guess final question before we come to an end. And
I'm going to have half one of these. Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it. It is spicy.
As long as you give me the other half. The spicy. Right?
You're in?
Yeah,
all right.
Of course.
Do you want me to chop it up?
Yeah, you do the honours.
All right,
Sorry, Yohaan,
and question for you to ponder. We were looking at some would you rather questions earlier this week. Would you rather have dinner with Billie, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Billie Eilish?
Yeah.
Or Greta Thunberg?
Billie Eilish,
Billie
I
Eilish
think.
all the way.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
Consensus?
I don't know. I don't know. Both of them, seem like a laugh.
Would you rather end world hunger and be hungry?
Is this related?
And be hungry for the rest of your life, or never be hungry? And also, there is the world hunger.
Oh.
That was the question.
End world hunger. For sure.
Says he
And
with
be
the
hungry.
burrito. Yeah.
For the rest of your life. I asked them something, they were like, yeah, but if I end world hunger, then I'll never be hungry either. Like, that's not the point of this question.
No, it's not, is it? No, I feel the pinch of it. Thank
food
you.
for thought. Hey.
Thank you.
Do you think this whole idea of rest and rest being such a core component of who we are as Christians underline the view that Christianity is just a crutch for people? That it kind of feeds into laziness, it feeds into lack of aspiration, it feeds into lack of drive, lack of achievement, lack of going and making stuff happen. It goes against everything in me that says I need to work hard and make something of myself.
I think it could be read as that, and I think it's an act of faith and not of fear to Sabbath. Simple as that. It's what's being agitated in you when someone says something like that. It's just got to be your pride. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, pride always kicks out when its reputation is called into question. I think it is a humble acknowledgement that we're not like indestructible, that we're not Superman. We're dependent on a Heavenly Father, and He says He'll sustain us. He says, I give you enough for each day. And he says again in the wilderness, He says to them, I'm going to give you a double portion on the Friday. Gather it all in, gather enough, because there won't be any on the Saturday, and you have to trust me that there's going to be enough again the next day. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And also, it's a misunderstanding of the other 6 days. What do you think Jesus calls us to? Is like just a whole life of like just do nothing. Like absolutely not. We're called to fruitfulness and like work out your salvation, good works. Look at some of the biggest accomplishments in terms of history. Like a lot of it has been done by people with Christ in their heart and the Spirit of Jesus, like leading them to push themselves and do stuff. So I think you look at Jesus, He's not a lazy bum. He's like a man on a mission, like brave and worked hard, but you never get the idea he was like stressed out or like crazy, just anxious. Like he worked hard, but he rested. Jesus worked from a place of rest rather than rested from a place of work.
So good. Wow. We've come to an end. If you are at Emmanuel, and you're a woman, it is the Emmanuel Women Day Conference this Saturday. Whoop, whoop. And they've got some amazing speakers. Lou Felly from Brighton, Caroline Holly from Bedford, who also runs a creative interior design business. Really cool stuff. I was looking at her website. So it's going to be brilliant. The wonderful Anna Brading leading the women in worship again, not us, because we won't be allowed.
Us as in the family.
Us as in the family. So if you haven't booked in, please book in. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day of just teaching from the Bible, worship, social time. It's going to be extraordinary. Next week, we won't be having any food at Live Lunch.
No, I'm not coming.
Why?
Because it is Big Wednesday!
Even better.
Yeah.
So Big Wednesday is 3 days of prayer and fasting that we all go together every other month as a church. We start on Monday, finish on Wednesday evening with food and a prayer meeting. A big prayer meeting on Wednesday evening at the Clarendon Centre. Join us from 8 onwards. It's going to be extraordinary. It was a huge number of people at the last one, and it was wonderful, just worshipping, praying, seeking God, seeking His presence, seeking Him, his answers, His provision, hearing from Him. It was extraordinary. It was a lovely, lovely prayer meeting. So please have that in your calendars. Next Wednesday, 8 p.m. onwards at the Clarendon Centre, Big Wednesday. But we'll be back next Tuesday for another episode of Live Lunch.